Mic check. Alright, we got sound. Let's see if anybody comes in. Ivan Hopper, how you doing? Welcome to the live stream. This is something new I'm trying out. I figured I'm sitting around editing video today and figured I might as well turn it on live. Looks like we got 6 people in here now. Welcome to 504 Road Trips. Uh-oh, that's going to cause an echo. Mute that. I'm watching the chat on an iPad to the side, so if you have anything to say, go ahead and chat. I'll be able to see it and respond to you. Who all is here? Jamaica Green. Your dream come true. Wow. Didn't expect that kind of reaction from anybody. I hope y'all can hear me. I've got the mic a little bit off to the side. I'm going to try and keep up with the chat, but I am editing as I do this. So I may be a little distracted. Well, Jamaica, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Jamaica. Thank you for following us. We're, I guess, 6 years into this channel now. And, yeah, the young lady that did the voiceovers is my fiance. She hasn't been doing them lately. She doesn't like the sound of her own voice. But we've got some stuff coming up in North Dakota again that she's probably going to be voicing. That's going to be coming up in the next couple of months. Syrup of Nature, hello. What I'm working on here now is last month, or actually 3 weeks ago, We had some business to attend to up in North Dakota, and we made that trip last year, and put it all up here in the channel. The whole trip up I-49 and 29 and through Arkansas and Missouri. This year we had to go up there again, so we decided to take a different route this time. So what we did is we took I-55 from its southern terminus, which is right 25 miles from here in Laplace, Louisiana, and drove it all the way up to Chicago, Illinois. And then we headed west out of Illinois, across Wisconsin, and Minnesota and North Dakota. So we have video of the entirety of I-55 now, and we have some video in Wisconsin, which is a state that we had never done video in before. Actually, it was my first time in Wisconsin. Wasn't very good video because it got dark on us, and that's one of the problems with pre-scheduling where we're going to stay for the night. Is if we run late, we run out of daylight, and for the future we're not going to do that anymore. We're gonna just wing it as far as getting hotels for the night. That way we can just stop when it starts getting too dark to film. Anyway, that's what's going to be coming up, is going to be all of I-55, some video up in Wisconsin. We have city tours of Eau Claire, Wisconsin, La Crosse, Wisconsin, and Dickinson, North Dakota, which I had already filmed a city tour of 2 years ago, and somehow or another deleted the footage before I put it together for YouTube. And then somebody asked me about it, and I thought it was up there, and it wasn't there. So we had to go back to Dickinson, and we did a city tour of Dickinson. So that'll be coming up soon. Coming back, we drove U.S. Highway 61 all the way from St. Paul, Minnesota, back to New Orleans. So that's another thing that's going to be coming up in the future. One of the first things that we did in 504 road trips was we started a US 61 series, and we got to Vicksburg, Mississippi, and that's the furthest we ever got, and we never got back to it. Well, we decided to do it southbound, so we will have all of US 61 on the channel sometime between now and the end of the year. I hope I did that wrong. See, I'm talking and not paying attention to what I'm doing. So what I'm doing here is, this video here is the entirety of I-55 all in one video, and this is how I prep the videos. Is I dump it all from the camera, put it all into one file, and I put in all the cities, the signs, the routing and all that, and then I compile the video into a file that can be then re-imported into the editing software, chopped up. That's when I do the voiceovers and put all the finishing touches on the videos and then upload them. And I'm about probably 8 hours into editing this master video of I-55, and probably got another hour or so to go and I'll be done. And then each individual video that I put out on the channel, that comes out every 3 days, takes another half hour to an hour of editing, to finalize it, get the voiceover on it, get the music on it, and any little extras that I put in. So that's the work that goes into these videos. And I've just been working on this every night as we sit in front of the TV and watch old reruns of Law and Order. I just work on this as I go, so it's not like I put a lot of time into it. But today I didn't really have anything else to do. I got up at 7 o'clock this morning and cut the grass, and so I'm editing today. And I figured I'd put it up live, and that way I can talk to my viewers and see what y'all have to say. So let's see. Up, Roadway Whiz. I was thinking about talking to you this morning. I haven't heard from you in a while. Uh, and yeah, I guess Saturday's the day to prepare videos. Jamaica, would you be interested in doing a video of provisioning and/or preparing for a trip? Um, our preparing for a trip is it's such a disorganized. Uh, I don't think I'd want anybody to see how we prepare for a trip because it's by the seat of our pants. For this trip, when we knew this trip was coming up about a week in advance, well, I guess about 3 weeks in advance, and we had all these plans to have the suitcases packed. We were leaving Friday morning, so we were going to have the suitcases packed by Thursday night and have everything packed away except for what we needed for the showers in the morning and toothbrushes and stuff like that. Throw all that in a bag and go. Well, we were still doing laundry Thursday night, and Friday morning we were scrambling to get everything together into the suitcases, and we were going for 10 days, so we had 2 suitcases full of stuff. We're not light packers, but it was a fiasco, and it always is. So no, I'm not doing any videos on that because I could see some people would be triggered if they have OCD or anything like that by how poorly we do that kind of thing. But yeah, that's something I had actually considered at one time, but then we'd have to do it right, and that would never happen. Let's see, South Grand Avenue. As I go through these videos, I'm seeing a lot of this stuff for the first time because I was driving, so I'm seeing details that I didn't notice as we actually were making the drive. So Illinois was another state that was unexplored territory, at least within 504 road trips. I'd only been to Illinois, I think, once, and that was on a train. Roadway Whiz, what was the scope of the trip you're working on today? This is the entirety of I-55. I'm making a master video that I'm going to chop up later to make into the regular uploads. But yeah, North Dakota was involved. We drove the length of I-55 up to Chicago, and then we headed west across Wisconsin, Minnesota, and North Dakota, and took US 61 back. So we have clinched I-55 and we have clinched US 61, and added 2 new states to, well, we will be adding 2 new states to the 504 Road Trips catalog. And I added 1 new state to the states that I've personally traveled to, which I think is up to 43 at this point. I think Wisconsin made 43. Springfield, Illinois has a lot of museums. I guess we can put this in here. As I go through this video, that's when I decide what I'm going to add in. Illinois World War II, Korean War, Vietnam Veterans Memorials. World War II, Korean War, Vietnam Veterans Memorials. and Capitol Complex. So Roadway Wiz is up to 41 states. I would have figured you had me beat on that. I would have figured you would have been very close to 50. And you probably have some that I don't have because I've never really been through most of New England. I've never been to New Hampshire, Vermont, or Maine. And I'm missing Indiana, Alaska, and Hawaii, of course. And I know you've been to Hawaii. I'm trying to think of there's one other one that I have not been to. Oh, Arizona. So that's the states that I haven't made it to. Jaden, you experience ASMR when I watch your videos. A lot of people say that. And it's better that you're getting lulled to sleep watching this kind of thing on a video than from behind the wheel of a car, because that can get pretty dangerous. But yeah, when I watch these kind of videos, I experience the same thing. I'm going to step away from the computer for a second because I have to turn on a fan because it's hot here. Now, I don't know if the microphone is going to pick up the sound from that fan. I hope not. Is the audio still okay? Got 65-mile-an-hour speed limit. Sounds good there, good. I'm not in the most quiet environment. This is where I record all my voiceovers, but usually I have everything turned off. But this computer is cranking out heat like a space heater, and it's 96 degrees here with a heat index of 105. So it's pretty hot here. Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library and Museum. I swear I already did that. I can't be at more than one exit. When I'm editing video, I spend a lot of time going back and forth trying to figure stuff like this out. Huh, 92A. I guess there's two different exits that'll take you to the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Museum. I got it in there once, I'm not doing it again. Let's see, 98A. Okay, so how long does it take to edit these? Jaden has asked. I don't know if you heard the part where I explained that right now I'm doing all of I-55. The video I'm working on here is 6 hours and 40 minutes, and it'll later get split up into the normal 10-minute videos that you see uploaded on the channel every 3 days. I have about 8 hours into this video here, probably got about another hour left, and all I'm doing, there's no audio on it, it's just the video's been lined up, you know, it's been edited for time, so being that it's an interstate video, I run it at 2x speed. I've added the cities, the route, and now I'm adding the exit signs and that kind of thing. Once that's done, which will hopefully be tonight, it'll probably take all night to process that video, and then I'll end up with a video file that's 6 hours and 40 minutes long. From there, then that gets used to make the daily videos. So all I have to do is cut it down into sections, roughly 10 minutes, and put some finishing touches on it, add the voiceover, add the music, and that can take anywhere from a half hour to an hour per video. So there is quite a bit of time invested, but as I've been doing this, it's mostly been when we're sitting in front of the TV at night. I'll have the laptop going and I'll just be editing, and this is one of the rare times that I'm actually dedicating time to editing video, and since it's a Saturday and I had nothing else to do, I figured that's why we're live right now. But what I'll get out of 6 hours and 40 minutes of video is 40 regular upload videos, roughly. It might be a little more, it might be a little less. And by the time that 40 hours worth, I mean that those 40 videos are done, I'll probably have about 48 hours into editing. So it breaks down to a little bit over an hour each video. Let's see, I-72 and US 36. All these signs are template based. This is an accumulation of years worth of work that I have this little toolbox down here at the bottom of the screen with all the different highway signs, and I have files like this where if I get a really complicated road sign, I can borrow off of these or modify them, and that shaves a lot of time off of what it would take to make these from scratch. Somewhere I have miscellaneous. Yeah. See, I've accumulated a lot of highway signs. Decatur, and that's east. I even have stuff like this that I don't even have to worry about figuring out font sizes. Now my signs that I make like this are not perfect. They may not be compliant with the MUTCD, mainly because of the font sizes and stuff like that. I don't really care. I make them as close to the real thing as possible without putting too much effort into it. And it's kind of the way I think they should look, though. But I could nitpick these to no end. Like, I think that east looks a little bit too big, and this part up here where it says exit 98A isn't quite right, and all that varies from state to state. And Illinois uses Clearview instead of FHWA. I don't use Clearview because the font that I have that is a clone of Clearview just doesn't, it's not kerned right. It's got some problems, so I just use my knockoff Highway Gothic font for all of my signs. So where we are right here is about halfway between St. Louis, Missouri and Chicago, Illinois. We're about 100 miles into Illinois. Looks good. And I usually work a lot faster than this, but since I'm talking, it's slowing me down a little bit. And these signs don't have a common theme, so I keep having to change shields and stuff like that. Clear Lake Avenue. West. Now, one thing about this most recent trip is we got smart and we brought an ice chest with us this time, so we didn't have to make nearly as many stops for drinks and that kind of thing. We had all that stuff in the car, so that other than bathroom breaks at rest areas. Did I already do this? Let's see. Yep, there we go. (98B) Illinois 97 West, Clear Lake Avenue. Looks good to me. So another thing that's changed since the last time I tried to do something like this, I just upgraded our fiber optic internet to, was it 100 megabit up and down. And before I was paying less. Butler National Cemetery, I'm going to skip that one. I was paying less, but I only had like, I think 50 megabit coming down and 5 megabits going up. And so it took forever to upload videos. Now I can upload videos in 5 minutes. And it also allows me to live stream, and hopefully there's not any lag. And from what I can see on the iPad here, there's not. Okay, got a bunch of points of interest here. Springfield is a pretty major city. and I think it's the capital of Illinois. And I should really know that. Yep, capital of Illinois is Springfield. Another thing about Springfield is we're right alongside historic Route 66 throughout most of the Illinois portion of I-55. And it runs concurrent in a couple of places. I don't know whether there's any of the old original roadbed that's being used as I-55, or if they just didn't have any other place, to call Route 66, or if they built right over it, or there's all kind of different possibilities there. But there were some signs as we got closer to Chicago that said that we were on historic Route 66. And once again, we didn't really get a chance to explore it. Now, I believe on the way back when we were driving US 61, I think there might have been a short concurrency there. State Fairgrounds. Oh wait, this one's half brown and half green. I think I had something worked out for that. Yep, here we go. Okay, State Fairgrounds. That's going to be the brown half, and this is going to be the green half. Benedictine University at Springfield. Whoops. They actually used a period on a sign. Saw that a lot in Missouri, where they actually put periods behind street and avenue on the big green signs on the interstate. And that's something you normally don't see. Usually they leave punctuation off. Midwest Technical Institute. When they have signs like this and they have names of schools, I like to put them up or even mention them in the voiceover commentary, because people like to hear the names of their schools. I found that out doing local videos of New Orleans, and they always point it out when I neglect to mention the name of their school that I drove by. 100B. So I know actually watching me edit is probably boring as hell, but if you got any questions, go ahead and ask. I'm watching the chat. Hey, Scott Morris, how you doing? Yeah, if you have any questions or comments, put it in the chat, and I will be happy to try and answer. This is a little too tall here. Alright, State Fairgrounds, Benedictine University at Springfield, Midwest Technical Institute, exit 100B. That'll work. Abraham Lincoln Capital Airport. Wow. That seems kind of important, so I'm going to put that. Get back to my green only. Abraham Lincoln Capital Airport. Exit 100B. Come on. And I know I have the little airplane symbol. Somewhere. Right here. Once I get through Springfield, there's going to be a lot fewer signs and they're going to be a lot less detailed. (100A) Clinton. And that is 54 East. A 54 East Clinton. Oh, that's got a different airplane on it. I don't have that one. I don't think. This is... I have no idea how to pronounce this, and that's the name of the county here and everything. Sangamon. Sangamon. I have to look that up. Avenue. And I'm just going to leave the little airplane out because I don't have that symbol. And I don't feel like looking for it. that's an example of where I've gotten lazy. Let me look again and make sure I don't have that. Because I know I've seen that somewhere before. Yeah, I don't see it anywhere. So that'll do for now. And we got our 70-mile-an-hour speed limit back here. So let's see, our next exit is 105. That's a good ways ahead. Oh, we got a work zone. What? Photo enforced too. Wow, I didn't realize that was photo enforced. I didn't see that sign. Because I know I went through this just as fast as the truck ahead of me was going, which was probably 70 miles an hour. Come on. There we go, work zone 55. I drove a lot slower in Illinois than I did in any other state. And I guess it's because the interstate, or specifically Interstate 55, really didn't feel like an interstate highway. It, at times, just felt like a rural 4-lane divided road. It never felt like a super highway at any point once we got into Illinois. It was kind of strange. Here they're doing some kind of widening project. And we saw a lot of that. Actually, I think they were trying to widen a bridge there. It wasn't the one I was thinking of. And work zone. Put a 70 here. But yeah, I pretty much kept my speed around the speed limit throughout Illinois. Speed limit. Mile to Sherman. Half mile to Sherman. Oh, there's Sherman. Sherman has an I-55 business loop. Yeah, it like I said, it's a very different oh yeah, you missed most of Illinois 55 if it was missing between East St. Louis and Joliet, because yeah, I mean that's most of the way between St. Louis and Chicago. Yeah, I haven't seen interstate like that anywhere else that I can recall. Sherman. But yeah, there were a couple of times driving along this part of 55 that I actually forgot that I was on an interstate. And it wasn't that the road was in bad shape, it just didn't seem to be, it didn't seem to meet the uh, standards for an interstate. I guess it did, but it just didn't. It's just different. It's hard to describe, but I'm sure you're seeing it, Roadway Whiz. Whoop, not I-94. We're on I-55. This is one of the few places that I've encountered interstate business loops. Other than I-94 through North Dakota. Because that's something we really don't have down south. Yeah, I haven't been on too much of Pennsylvania's rural interstates. I know I've been on the Turnpike, which kind of reminds me of that non-interstate turnpike down around Orlando, Florida. Close enough. But yeah, I haven't done much travel in Pennsylvania, so I don't really have anything to compare this to. But I guess it's that white gray, and I can't tell whether this is concrete or asphalt that's been bleached by the sun. I'm guessing it's concrete. But just the coloring of the road surface is different here. And here we're on the historic Route 66. And obviously this road surface is not the old Route 66 road surface. Let's see, Williamsville, Illinois. Let's look at that on a map. See, Route 66 probably, yeah, would have run along this road here, kind of following the railroad track over here. So I don't really know why they call this. What exit is this? 109. Oh, I see what it is. Okay, so we're here. This is where we... Okay, so I guess they built the interstate over Route 66 along this stretch here. And it just doesn't exist here anymore. Because they built some kind of depot here. And then I guess this, yeah, historic US 66. So it went through the town. So we're just going to have a temporary concurrency here. Matthew Tobias says, there have been times when there were errors in the video, wrong city names, misspelled a word, or forgot to put a sign. Yes, every video has some sort of error in it, and somebody always points it out, which I don't mind, but yeah, there's always an error somewhere. I'm double checking my signs and stuff a little bit better, or a little differently in this video than I normally do. Try to get it to where I can see it on the video and what I've put up. Lincoln's New Salem State Historic Park site. I'm going to skip that one because I got an exit coming right up. And hey, C.D. Riley, what's going on? And when I said C.D. Riley, my phone thought I said, "Hey Siri." Okay. Yeah, Roadway Wiz, you make a mistake on every video too. It's mainly just the way you drive, though. I hope everybody here is familiar with Roadway Wiz on YouTube. Um, he has traveled extensively. He's come down and met with us here a couple of times. Uh, we met up with him up in Nashville a couple of years ago for New Year's. Let's see, 109. But riding in a car with Roadway Wiz driving is definitely a frightening experience. He's a very fast driver, not reckless or anything, but he drives faster than I do. Williamsville and Petersburg. That is Illinois 123. Lots of signs in this video. I'm up to 304. And that's probably the most time consuming part of doing this kind of thing, is making the signs. Williamsville, Petersburg. Looks good to me. Another thing about I-55 through this part of Illinois is outside of so you got the whole area east of St. Louis, Missouri, which stretches out pretty far. And you've got a bunch of different interstate concurrencies that all kind of get tangled up in there. But once you get away from that, outside of Springfield, and then once you get within about 50 miles of Chicago, it's urban again. But it seems pretty desolate out here, and I didn't really expect that. This is almost as desolate feeling as it is in North Dakota, except that there's trees, and North Dakota doesn't have a lot of trees. Yes, I-55 is going to be the next series. Since I'm running out of local material, we'll be finishing up Louisiana Highway 22. I think there's 2 videos left in that set. Then I'm going to jump right into I-55. Let's see what I'm looking for next. 109. No, I just did 109. 115 Elkhart. One mile. That's an easy one. Yes, we're doing the whole length of I-55 from start to finish. That just doesn't look right. Sometimes I do get picky with the signs. Oops. That's better. So yeah, what's everybody else doing with their Saturday afternoons? It is hot as hell here. It's like in the mid 90s. We have a heat index of well over 100. Look it up right now and see. 95 degrees. Oh, it's partly cloudy. Feels like 110. But it's going to dip down to 81 tonight. And there's a tropical storm off of the east coast. Well, an invest off the coast of Florida. And they're projecting it to cross Florida's peninsula and skirt the coast and come straight into New Orleans. Pretty typical. What's up, Nightbot? Let's see. Next exit is 123. Yeah, I remember this stretch of road. That SUV in front of me was going like 90. And I just kept up with him for a few miles. Okay, 119 Broadwell. Too wide. Well, I'm running out of space on the screen here. Yeah, I would say this is the longest master video I've ever created, because I separated I-49 and I-29, and I-29 just didn't have, of course the speed limit on I-29 is 80 most of the way, so we made better time, and there weren't as many exits. Coming into the town of Lincoln. Logan County. And one thing we did notice along old Route 66 up here, and apparently it's not anything like what you see out west, you know, where it goes through Arizona and all that, but there was a junkyard, and it was right off an exit, and I haven't been able to find it on the video yet, but it caught my eye because every vehicle in this junkyard was like pre 1970. A lot of old full size American cars and muscle cars and stuff like that. And if we hadn't been trying to get all the way to Eau Claire, Wisconsin via Chicago that night, I probably would have stopped and explored this junkyard and probably even shot some video. And the cars were all like whole, intact, all there. You know, I mean, they had parts missing from them, but they weren't just like rusted out piles of junk. They were in. They looked like they. Some of them looked like they were in good enough shape where you could just tow them out of there and restore them and put them back on the road. That's not what I wanted to do. Lincoln. Exit 123. Seven. Up, and I got I-94 on there again. I should probably just change that in the toolbox, but then I'm going to be doing I-94 again. There we go, I-55. And that there would have been a mistake. I wonder what this means. Oh, and there's the weather. 93 degrees, 64% humidity, air quality index 59. That's what I was looking at and wondering what it meant. AQI. I did not see any Mustangs in that junkyard. It looked more like it was all full size, full-size American cars from the 60s and earlier. There might have been Mustangs in there. The problem with Mustangs is the old ones tend to just rust away, even if they were kept in a place where, you know, where there's no salt on the roads, and you'd almost have to seal them up in a vacuum to keep them old ones from rusting. And I had a couple of them, and the first one I had was a 65 Mustang, and by the time we were done with it, there was more Bondo than there was metal in that car. They just had really, really bad paint back then, or primer, or a combination of the two, and in those cars, no matter what they did, they just rusted away. Let's see, Lincoln College. Lincoln Christian University. That's interesting. Exit 126. Get rid of the airplane. Yeah, I'm hoping I'll be able to see that junkyard as I'm editing the video here. Because I kind of have an idea of where to look. It was right next to an overpass, but kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And let's see, 126 Lincoln and Mason City. And we got 2 state highways. A 2-digit and a 3-digit. They are 10 and 121. Oh wait, we got a guide sign there. I've got don't have one. Whoops. Don't have one for Chicago yet. Yeah, CDS. I saw I-57 is kind of the shortcut between St. Louis and Chicago. And that was, you know, the GPS wanted us to go that way. But the whole point of doing this was to clinch I-55. So, because I-57 is shorter. Where is I-57? Actually, it goes further south than, that's right, 57 comes out of Sikeston, Missouri. So we would have lost a big chunk of I-55, more than half of it if we would have taken 57. Now I lost it. Where'd it go? Here we go. But yeah, 57 bypasses St. Louis, and it probably cuts 50 miles off of the trip, because you're not going quite as far out of the way. It also looks like it doesn't really hit any major cities. You got Champaign, Effingham. What is this? Yeah, I mean, there's really no major cities along 57. And if we ever go up to Chicago again, then that would be the way to take, because we could cover 57 from beginning to end. I don't really see any reason we would ever have to go to Chicago, and the only reason we went this time was just because that was what we wanted to do. But here, 10 and 121, exit 126, 55 North Chicago. Looks good. We got a left exit coming up. Oh, we got a fancy sign here. I think I've already got this, so. This is close enough. Peoria. Yeah, I could see him extending I-57 um, to Little Rock. That would be a much more logical endpoint than Sykeston, because Sykeston is not a big town at all. We drove through Sykeston on the way back on 61. And I mean, it's a big town compared to other towns in that area, but it's not like a huge city. And this is 155 north. Yeah, Chicago. We did drive through a little bit of downtown Chicago because when you get to the end of I-55, it just drops you off on the Lakeshore Drive, and so we had to make our way back out of the city area. And I haven't really looked that close. I guess we were in downtown Chicago there. We had to make our way out of that and over to I-90 and 94 to get out of Chicago. And so the downtown area we didn't see much of, and we didn't get out the car. Chicago's kind of a scary place right now. It's probably not that bad during the day in downtown. But one of the things that I noticed in Chicagoland extends out probably 50 miles along I-55. Excuse me. And as soon as we got within that 50-mile range, the people were driving crazy. And I'm not normally a nervous driver, but I was in that situation, and I pretty much just picked the middle lane or the second lane from the right and stayed in it. But I mean, people were tailgating, people were weaving in and out of traffic. There was one point where this guy in a early 80s Dodge conversion van went around me, and he weaved around me, probably going 100 miles an hour, and I thought that thing was going to flip over. And I was kind of shocked that that thing could even go that fast. But there was just there were all kind of examples of people riding at each other's bumpers and stuff. And I guess it didn't help that we were getting into Chicago on, well, I'm going to say it was rush hour. It was close to 5 o'clock, but it was a Saturday. And no, it wouldn't have even been that late in the day. It would have probably been about 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And maybe it's just like that all the time there. But it was scary driving in Chicago. And then once we got onto the street grid of downtown Chicago, it wasn't that bad. It was just like any other big city. Oh man, it's all messed up. This is 155 north. But yeah, the only other place that was even close to what I experienced in Chicago was New York City. And I've done almost no driving there. I've driven in Long Island. But I've been in a car in New York City, not just a taxi, just a regular car. And even from the passenger seat, it's kind of nerve-wracking, I guess. So let's see, we've got to improvise here. Future I-57 signs along US 167 on the north side of Little Rock. Most of the stretch of 167 through Arkansas is freeway standard. Yeah, so all you got to do is just put up the I-57 signs and make it official. Yeah, Lakeshore Drive in Chicago was bumper to bumper traffic at a crawl. And I'll have video of that at some point too. Uh, and of course, we were in the right lane and had to make a left at some point, and it took me about 6 traffic lights to get over to the left because everybody's riding each other's bumpers. And God forbid you put on a blinker, because then they know what you're going to do and they'll make sure you can't do it. You got to just catch them by surprise. You got to catch somebody that's a little unalert behind the wheel, that leaves a little bit of a gap, and you just jump in front of them. But that 6 traffic lights that we went through on Lakeshore Drive probably took 40 minutes. So that's how long it took us just to get in the left lane to make a left turn. And that's very much like stuff I've seen in New York. And yes, Lakeshore Drive is US 41. Exit 127. And we got to make this a left exit. Let's see how I'm going to do that. Oops. Do this. That black, color this yellow. Whoops. Whoop. And there we got a left exit sign. Whoop. So having made this cross-country trip 2 years in a row now, same week of July, oh, damn it. I made this sign, I'm using it. Last year when we made this trip, and that was an emergency trip, so we didn't have time to plan it out, but with the health situation that was going on in the country at that point, the hotels were empty, and we could just stop wherever we got tired of driving and get a hotel room. This year, being that we left on July 4th weekend, everybody's traveling. Everybody's taking the opportunity to get out of the house for the first time in over a year probably. And we had to book our hotels way in advance. So as soon as we started planning the trip, I went ahead and booked hotels. So it's close enough. So the first night we stayed in a town called Festus, Missouri, which is an outer ring suburb south of St. Louis. But the problem is it got dark about an hour before we got there. So I had to change settings on the camera to try and capture a little bit more light, and I had to do some major video editing. Just to make the video usable. And that kind of sucked. And in the future, if we have to book any hotel rooms, I'm just going to plan out the trips to where we don't have to drive more than 300 miles a day. 5 hours. We'll have the best lighting, even if we don't leave early in the morning. But I don't want to be on the road more than 5 hours, because there's too much chance that we're not going to be able to use the video towards the end if we have to keep driving to make it to a hotel that I got to start over on this now. Yeah, if we have to keep driving to make it to a hotel that we've already paid for. 55 North Chicago. Where are my arrows? This is an exit only. Another damn left exit. I don't like left exits. Left exit 127. Let's see. 155 North Peoria. Travel during the winter, you have minimal window of traveling in the daylight. Yeah, that's why we don't typically do a whole lot of travel in the wintertime. Another thing is the sun's always to the south, so no matter what time of day it is, you really can't be traveling south because the sun's in the camera. So we really don't, we do as little traveling in the winter as possible. Alright, looks good to me. If you see any mistakes, point them out. Another thing I noticed about Illinois is when I put these signs into the video, into the timeline of the video, I anchor them on the right at the sign on the gore point that you see there. Come on. So that's where the exit sign will disappear, and it'll display for 5 seconds typically before that. A lot of the Illinois exits, especially getting closer to St. Louis, did not have any kind of sign at the gore point. It just had the the green sign as you approached. And in some places, you couldn't even tell where the gore point was, other than, you know, the painted point. We had about 15 hours of daylight up in Washington, Oregon a couple of weeks ago, which tended to result in marathon travel days for me. Winter's a different story. Well, that's one of the things that, you know, the further north you go, and you were probably pretty close to the same latitude as we were at, in North Dakota, the sun comes up at 5 o'clock in the morning and goes down. Well, you don't get total darkness until like 11 o'clock at night. I think the sun will drop below the horizon, especially in like Bismarck, because you're right on the edge of the central time zone, the western edge of the central time zone. The sun will drop below the horizon at like 9:30, quarter to 10, and it'll still be light for another hour. It doesn't get completely dark until the middle of the night, and that is good for filming. But the problem is, if you're heading west anytime between 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock at night, you got the sun right in front of you. So you still lose a certain amount of travel time because you want the sun out of the camera, unless you're going north or south. If you're going north or south, then you're fine, and you probably do have 15, 16 hours of usable daylight. And the rain in the south is not just limited to the south, because all along this trip we ran into rain showers, especially the first part of it, which of course we were in the south. But between New Orleans and Festus, Missouri, where we stopped the first day, it was rain on and off the whole time. Not super heavy rain, but enough rain that I had to run the wipers, which isn't ideal filming conditions for me, but, you know, what can you do? I would guess that there's probably no time you could drive that route and not hit a single rain shower. We just happened to hit more than we expected. But I mean, even up north, we were running into rain showers. When we arrived in Dickinson, it was in the mid-90s, and there was sunshine. But that night, some sort of a front came through, and we got some rain, and the temperature dropped to like 60 degrees. And for the rest of the time we were there for 3 days, the temperature was between 60 and 70 degrees the entire time. Let's see what the next exit is. 133. Historic US 66. I guess the speed limit never goes above 70 in Illinois either. One mile. Half mile. Lincoln, Lawndale, 133. Apparently Lincoln, Illinois is a pretty big town. Just did something to the iPad here. Oh, there we go. Oh, the iPad's almost dead. All right. Another business route, business loop. And it is not I-94, it's I-55. Next exit is 140. You see here the exits are getting a lot more spaced out. What is that? Oh. And once again, this really doesn't look like an interstate. And we're almost to Atlanta. But not Atlanta, Florida, because I know that's what you were thinking. I think there's also an Atlanta in some other state. Georgia, maybe. Damn it. Well, what I'm talking about with this not feeling like an interstate is this actually looks just like Louisiana Highway 23 that runs down through Plaquemines Parish. Uh, you know, 2 lanes in each direction with a median. I mean, the median's a little bit wider, but this white, almost tan, you know, off-white concrete or bleached asphalt or whatever it is that they used here. I can't tell what the road surface is here. And then you got the crack down the middle that they just splattered tar in. Um, and then every once in a while there's like a U-turn in the middle of it, which, you know, is for official vehicles only, but just at a glance, you can't even really tell that that's what it is. It looks like it's just a cut through. I mean, there's no intersections or traffic lights on it or anything like that. But it feels like you could come around this corner and have a traffic signal at, you know, McLean County. That's just the way it feels to me. I don't know, but there's one of those U-turns right there. And you see how narrow the median is, and it's a paved U-turn. It's not just a dirt road. If it wasn't for the no U-turn sign, that's, I would just think it's just a state or U.S. highway that has decent shoulders. Also, the left shoulder is only a half shoulder, and it seems like I read somewhere that they changed that standard for the interstates to have a full left shoulder. I might be wrong about that, though. It might just be something they're doing, and it's not required. Yeah, I've never been on I-39, but the pavement's not bad, though. This was a smooth ride. It almost reminds me of those highways in Texas that I don't even know if they're considered paved. The speed limit's 75 on them, and it looks almost like it's this color. It feels like soft, almost like asphalt, but if you look at it up close, you could take a shovel and dig a hole in it. I don't really even know whether it's just packed gravel or what, but it's a really strange surface. And those roads were smooth in Texas. McLean and Hayworth. H-E-Y. US 136. Sis Holmes, yes, this is a new series coming up. I'm working on I-55 right now. And it's going to be I-55 from beginning to end. Next, 154, and now we're getting into like 9 miles between the exits. I stopped at kind of a cool rest area up ahead. Should be coming up on that, I think, right after this rumble strips. They like to use them rumble strips up there. But yeah, I think right out of this construction zone was where we stopped at the rest area. I don't need to edit that. And I kept the video driving in through the rest area because you had to go onto the highway, and they had these neat arches over the highway, or under the highway, I guess. In fact, this might be it. Yep, this is it right here. Put a rest area sign here, and y'all can preview the rest area. I'll just let it roll. Whiskey bumps. I've never heard that term. But what I'm talking about is the rumble strips that go all the way across the whole highway to let you know the speed limit's getting ready to drop. I'm not talking about the ones that you tend to veer off of the road onto when you're drinking whiskey. Don't drink and drive. So yeah, this rest area was on one side of the highway, and they had a separate exit for the southbound traffic that went to a different parking lot. So you couldn't get mixed up and go back the wrong way when you left the rest area. Good afternoon, Laura. Yeah, it's another difference from last year's trip is on this trip we went through 10 states, I think, stayed in 6 different hotels, never had to put on a mask one time. And of course the restriction was, you know, if you're vaccinated you don't have to wear a mask in public, and that was how it was everywhere. But I didn't see too many people wearing masks. So this is that overpass, and I kind of wonder if one of these bridges was part of the original Route 66. Just kind of neat architecture, something you don't see very often. At least we don't see it down here. See that? Okay, we got disconnected for a second there. I guess we're getting out again. Can y'all hear me? Mile and a half. Half mile. Shirley. 154. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. It's like my internet cut out for a second or something. Good enough. Ah, let's see what they did. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be any standard for the way they make the green signs in Illinois. Oh man, that's off center. So what state am I in right now? I'm in Louisiana. The video you're looking at on here is in Illinois. This would help if I save this. The red zone is for loading and unloading only. The white zone, there is no parking in the white zone. Oh, Bloomington, that's the other big town that we go through. There's that little airplane again. Wow. Looks like we've gained Peoria as a control city because we're going to be concurrent with 74. West. Well, they really jam these together. So it's 157B. We got 157A. Indianapolis. Next right. Yeah, I've never been on I-74 other than what is concurrent with I-55 here. Okay, 157B. That. Veterans Parkway. Another thing they do in Illinois is they spell out words like parkway and street and avenue. Alright. 55 North, 74 West, Chicago, Peoria, 55 Business East, oh, nope, North. Veterans Parkway, Indianapolis next right, 74 East, 157A, 157B. Okay. Beautiful. Looks good. Next exit, 160. Yeah, now we're concurrent with 51. That's another highway I want to do start to finish is 51. In fact, somebody commented on a recent video, or actually it was on one of my US 51 videos from down south, saying that he grew up at the north end of 51, which I believe is somewhere in Wisconsin. And that was one of our possible ways back. Let's say Interstate Center, McLean County Fairgrounds. Let's skip that one. Yeah, since we've been trying to do 61 for so long, that's why we decided just to go ahead and do that. Okay, 160. And for some reason, they got the exit 160 all the way to the left on this one. I don't know why they did that. Usually that indicates a left exit. But we'll do it how they did it. Market Street, Pekin. One arrow. This is 150 in Illinois 9. Looks good. So we got another one coming up, 164. It's probably behind this truck. Nope. Wait a minute, what exit did I just do? 160. Okay, so 163 is the next exit. And I think this is where we lose I-74. Yeah, it sure is. Kind of a weird sign. It's just got a big green area above and below, and it doesn't have any arrows or anything. I guess that was to match the height. Do it like this. All right. Close enough. So then we got 164. More construction. One north. So this is where we lose 51. Another interstate I've never been on. Wish I could just retire and just go drive all over the country. But I'm not quite there yet. Maybe by the time I'm 80. Oh man, this is an eggs only. Let's see, just borrow this from here. Close enough. I'd love to just take a year off or something like that and do some traveling. So many places I still haven't seen in this country that I'm gradually chipping away at the to-do list. Yeah, I mean that's one of the things is we typically can never take more than a 3-day weekend or a 4-day weekend. Which only happens a few times a year. To get away. Our big holiday is Mardi Gras, which is, I can get away with 5 or 6 days off for Mardi Gras, but then the weather usually sucks, or, it's winter time usually. It can vary from late winter to early spring. But so you have the lighting issues, and you can't really go anywhere up north because it's usually still pretty cold or icy or snowing up there. So we usually restrict our Mardi Gras trips to the south. Um, but yeah, I think I'm going to start taking the week of July 4th off every year, though. It's the slowest time of year for me. I can shut down the shop and walk away and not worry about it for a week. Um, and it's not really going to cost me that much. So I think that's something we're just going to plan to do every year going forward. Um, the it, it's just it takes time, especially if you go on any kind of a great distance. Uh, we had 10 days for this trip, but there's still things that we could have stopped to see. But when you're concerned about videoing and you're going to run out of daylight, uh, you can't really do that. So that's why I'm thinking the 5 hours a day, 300 miles, 5 hours. And if you get on the road at 9 o'clock in the morning, it's summertime, you've got 9 hours to do that 5 hours worth of driving. So if there's some kind of an attraction that you want to stop at, you can stop for an hour, and you can do that 4 times over the course of that day, uh, and still get into a hotel at a reasonable time and get some sleep. So I think that's how we're going to do things going forward. But yeah, a year. I just wonder if you would get sick of it halfway into that year. Um, Not to mention that your day-to-day living expenses are going to be probably 3 or 4 times what they would be if you were at home. So it's not just the loss of a year's income, but your expenses get multiplied by 3 or 4 for the year that you're not making any money. So you'd really have to have $1 million in the bank or something to be able to do that because it's expensive. Yeah, I knew you were up there in the Northwest. I didn't. I never did get the details on where you went though. I guess that's going to be coming up soon. I'm assuming you're going to be doing your webinars and that kind of thing on that trip. Bellflower, Long Beach, California. No, we've done no travel in California at all. It's a little bit out of reach for us. Uh, I've been to California for conventions a couple of times, uh, but it was in the Palo Alto, San Francisco, Santa Clara, that area. So that's the extent of what I've seen of California. At one time, you could fly from New Orleans to LA for $49, and I'd considered doing it, but they don't have any kind of a deal like that anymore. There's this oddball Delta fare that I think it involved leaving at like 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that and flying through Atlanta. But it was like $49, and it wasn't that long ago. Bloomington normal. Oh, what happened to my Chicago sign? Oh, there it is. There the whole time. So Seattle, Portland, Idaho, Salt Lake City, and a lot of places in between. I actually drove probably part of the same route you would have had to have taken, starting in Vancouver, Washington, which is right across the river from Portland. I bought a car on eBay, sight unseen. This was in 2002, I guess. Bought a 75 Chrysler Cordoba on eBay. Me and a friend of mine flew up to Portland, picked up the car in Vancouver, Washington, and drove it back. Let's see, we got on the road about midnight Friday night, Saturday morning, and drove back to New Orleans, and arrived in New Orleans for about 5 o'clock Monday morning. And we drove that route through Oregon, Idaho. We went through Salt Lake City, and I remember there was Denver in there. We drove across Kansas, and then down south, Oklahoma, Texas, and into Louisiana. That was almost 20 years ago. But yeah, I'll be looking for those presentations. Always interesting. $165A. This Business 51 North. Alright, so see where we are in Illinois. This is 165 normal. And I'm about halfway through Illinois. So what I'm going to do, because my iPad that I'm reading the chat on is dead, it's going to turn off in a minute. So I'm going to end the live stream. God, this thing's hot too. Wow. So yeah, I think I'm going to end the live stream here. I want to thank everybody for joining us. We had a pretty good crowd today. And that's what you can be looking for coming up on 504 Road Trips. I think there's 2 videos left on the LA22 series. Today's the 24th, so one of those is going to come on tonight at 5. Tomorrow night, I got a hotel tour of this humongous hotel room that we had booked in Dickinson, North Dakota. It was basically a 2-bedroom apartment. We were expecting somebody to be joining us to handle some business, and that didn't happen, so it wound up just being me and Carrie in this 2-bedroom apartment in a Town Place Suites. Of course, we only used half of the suite, but it was still, if you want to get an idea of what a 2-bedroom extended stay hotel room looks like, check that out tomorrow night at 5. Then on the 27th should be the last video in the yeah, the 27th will be the last video in the LA22 series, and then on the 30th, this I-55 series is going to start. So make sure and check that out. It's going to be the first major interstate that we've clinched since I-85, I guess, which is going on probably 3 years ago now. So anyway, I'm going to sign off here. Thank you all for joining us. If you haven't subscribed, be sure and hit that subscribe button and the bell icon beside it, so you'll be notified when our new videos come out. Share our videos on social media and follow us on social media. And join us for our next 504 road trip. We'll see y'all later.